Weird, since you are joined.
What's the minimum we need for quorum? Is it 50%? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so at 4 people.
Hello. I'm gonna hand out gifts first. See?
Oh,
Would you like a
yes,
gift?
I would. Thank you.
Yeah, it's wrapped too.
I know.
I have one.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Love it.
So the time is 6:01 on December 10th, 2024. This is the Culture and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board meeting for December 10th, 2024. So we're going to get started. Stop sharing the screen for a second. So, we do have a forum. I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Ryan Gale.
Here.
Carly Wright.
here.
Omar is absent so far. Roger Williams. Here. Aaron Zeisel.
Here.
Betsy Vega is not going to be here with us today. Tony Costelli, you're online.
Here, yes.
Okay. And Jane Franklin, online.
Yeah, here. Sorry.
Yeah, great. All right. 6 of 8.
Right, so first of all, I want to welcome everyone for attending our December Cultural and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board meeting. So as part of our welcome, I want to recognize we have 2 new board members. So I want to give you both an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So maybe just say your name, a little bit of background information, and maybe one fun fact about yourself. So Tony, we'll start with you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be part of the board. I'm a newer resident to Salem. I've been here about a year and a half. We followed my daughter along, who's now a sophomore at Willamette. Um, my wife and I work for a company that produces music festivals. I spent lots of time on several different municipal boards, and I'm happy to be here to be able to do this here in Salem.
Appreciate it. Okay, James?
Yeah, hi, James Franklin. Lived in Salem since 2017. This is my first foray into any sort of local government. So yeah, this is a bit new for me. I've done a bunch of community theater, and I studied percussion and voice in college. So I have a lot of experience in the music and performing arts worlds.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you both for being here for your first meeting. Okay, now we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda for December 10th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I made that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, so next item on the agenda is just a quick review of the typical cultural tourism and promotion advisory board year. So in our next three meetings, so including December, January, and February, we're going to be going over as a group the grant applications. And then in March, we're going to be discussing our scoring and then work on the budget from there. Okay, so next I want to approve the minutes for September 10th, 2024. Is there a motion to, or any discussion related about the minutes? Oh, sorry. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay. Okay, now I can move on to public comment. So this is the appearance of persons wishing to address the board in any matters other than those which appear on the agenda. So do we have any public comments?
Seeing and hearing none.
Okay, seeing,
Ed Reynolds.
all right, so seeing and hearing none, the first item of business requiring action is the Travel Salem Annual Report Presentation.
We have Angie Hillary online to provide an overview and presentation on what's happening, how things went.
I'm not sure how to deal with the visual because my bun disappears if I do anything on the screen. So, okay, I'm going to try to hold it together and not laugh at myself. That's pretty funny. Let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you can all see it. Sorry. There it goes. Are you able to see okay? Okay, so I have a lot of content to share with you this evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Angie Villery, President and CEO of Travel Salem. And I'm delighted to be here with you on this wonderful holiday evening. But I would like to welcome you to engage with me as I present this content to you. So if you have a question, please interrupt me and we can talk about it. So there'll be a lot, and if you wait until the end, you might forget. So I don't mind answering questions in the middle, so please feel free. So the first thing I'm going to give you some highlights on is our annual report for the last fiscal year. And it was a robust year, incredible year. As you can see here, the tourism sector in the Salem and Mid-Willamette Valley, which is Marion and Polk counties, generated more than $750,000. Almost $750 million, basically. That's huge. And when we look at that growth year over year, it increased more than $25 million, which is about a 3.3% increase. So when you're talking about these kinds of decimal points here, small percentage increases are really quite large impacts in the local economy. So I wanted to make sure to share that here. You're able to see how we break out Marion County and Polk County contributions, while Salem's contribution is about 72% of the total. So the large majority of room nights are in Salem. So if people are going to come here to stay, play in our communities, they're going to be staying in Salem, which is wonderful because that drives the largest impact to our local economy. The tourism sector here employs about 7,700 people. That's a lot of hospitality folks running around in our communities, and that's what they would look like if they were all in one large arena. They drive about $235 million in earned wages that they push back out into our community. Those dollars do turn over more than 7 times in our community. Tourism is one of the largest turnover dollars in communities across the country, so it's a really powerful engine. On the TOT side, this is another key performance measurement that we track. We look at the transient occupancy tax. We also call it the TOT. Record level rates collected last year. You can see that growth at 23-24, 4.8 million down there. I remember the days when I first started, we were a little over 2 million, so come a long ways. And here again, mentioning that the Salem accounts for more than 72% of the TOT collected in the 2-county area. Another key performance measurement that we look at in terms of how we evaluate the TOT, it's being driven by 2 different things. It's being driven by the occupancy in the market and the ADR, the average daily rate charged by our hoteliers. And you can see that trend over the last fiscal year. That dip in the center there is normal. That's our shoulder season, November to March. But we are experiencing record level average daily rates. Our RevPAR is also record level. So occupancy is a little bit up, not exorbitantly up, but combined with the ADR, that's what's driving the huge returns in the TOT fund. I'd like to talk a little bit about a visitor survey. We did an intercept survey for an entire year across the 2-county area, the Mid-Willamette Valley. And we worked with all the partners that you see listed here on the screen. And each of them hosted our surveys on location, and their visitors completed that information to help us understand how visitors are moving in the market, how much they spend when they're here, what their demographics and psychographics look like. So that data, we do this roughly every 2 years. This type of study. Largely, there were no changes over prior year, the prior survey that was completed. So this is pretty consistent in terms of the type of visitor that's coming here, why they're coming here, and what they do while they're here. Our majority of our visitors are coming from the Pacific Northwest and California. They're largely boomers. And the travel party size is almost 3, which is very strong. We've seen that increase over the last decade a little bit. The day party spend is about $256. The overnight spend is $851. So you can see why we really target folks to stay overnight in the market. They are largely using the hotels, but they stay with their friends and relatives here too. We have a very large visiting friends and relatives market here in the region, and that requires us to market and target a little bit differently. So we do try to encourage our residents to invite their friends and family to come and visit them here. And while they're here, we have a lot of resources to help them, take their friends and relatives around to experience all the great things that we have to see and do. The short-term rentals, which is the STR, they're at 12%. That's still also a driver in the market in terms of how people are staying here. Outdoor recreation and events continue to be a top driver of what folks do when they're here. The primary purpose of visit is obviously leisure, but we do spend a lot of time on that business and meeting and sports segment there, trying to recruit tournaments and conventions into the market. We know that they stay overnight, and so that's clearly why we spend a lot of time and effort in that area. But you can also see that oops, I apologize. Don't know how I did that. The day visitor here in this chart in the lower right, we cannot, I'm not sure what's happening with my screen. I apologize. We cannot ignore the day visitor and the value that they have in the market. So we're talking about business travelers or leisure travelers, corporate travelers that come to the market for the day. And they leave a lot of money behind as well. So, but we are trying to increase that piece of the pie there for the overnight visitor. Demographics. You can see the visitor origin in this chart down here, largely Oregon, visiting Oregon. Folks who live here want to get out and explore their own backyards, and we're thankful for that. But they come from all over the world. 35 states are represented in that little piece of that little column right here. We get a lot of international travel too, but we do focus primarily on, I'm not sure why my screen is doing that. I'm not even touching anything. Sorry about that. But we do focus largely on the Pacific Northwest area. Somebody save me from my computer, please. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Have an auto advance on it?
No, I don't believe.
And
Maybe.
Angie, if I can ask a quick question just on this slide.
Sure.
Is there any indication of why the visitors without children is so low?
It's probably due to the mix of what we have to do in the market. I mean, this is a very heavily driven wine destination, outdoor recreation. We don't really have a lot of context about that. However, I will tell you that that isn't very different from other markets either, that we are our competitive set. Other capital cities like Boise and so forth. We also look at Spokane, we look at Sacramento, those kinds of destinations. But we do have a little bit of different mix of product in this market, and I think that's what's also driving that. Kara, you're sitting in the room there. Do you have any other insight on that?
We haven't done a deep dive into why that is, but yeah, it's the wine primarily because we are a key wine destination. We continue to become more well-known for wine. But like Andy said, that doesn't mean we don't have a healthy mix of cultural heritage and family-friendly attractions. So we have a pretty good mix. We don't put all our eggs in one basket.
It might also have to do with like 65% of the people visiting us if they have kids, they're adult kids, because you're looking at boomers and Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
So 65% of the people coming here, if they do have children, they probably don't consider themselves having children anymore. Because they are grown-ups.
Probably.
Yeah, that's true. Adult children would be counted at
That was an astute question, though. Thank you, Tony, for that. I appreciate it. Thanks for chiming in. Average household income of the visitor is more than 120,000. They are largely married that come and visit here, and largely Caucasian population of our visitors. But we have in our new strategic plan that I'll be talking about here shortly, we will have an emphasis in accessibility and EDI initiatives in our market to try to diversify the types of folks that can come and spend time here with us. The demographics, again, we're looking at the boomers, 53 years old, average age, and largely female. And we also do know that historically women do most of the trip planning, so this is not a surprise either. What's attracting them to the area? Obviously visiting friends and relatives. We talked about that a few minutes ago, but our events and our outdoor recreation and our wine at the top there. But what I want to point out about this chart specifically is that look at the diversity here. We really are blessed in this community to have a lot of variety, which brings people back again and again, because when you're here, you can't do everything you want to do over a few days. You do have to come back and spend more time. And we do hear that from folks, and the data shows that as well, that we have a lot of repeat visitation here. So, but here's the point I was making just on the last slide. About 15% of our visitors have accessibility needs. So we're going to be paying attention to that and really looking at what we can do in terms of the product offerings that we have, that we can really market those to those folks who have specific needs. And there are a lot of our partners in the market that are doing some really interesting things. And we want to be able to tell those stories and connect those things to do with those folks that want to have access to that. I will say on the convention side, we have seen a shift in the last year in terms of meeting planners providing certain resources to their attendees, to their delegates. Like they'll have, oh gosh, Kara, help me. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a silent room or a low stimulus room.
Free experiences associated with meetings and conventions is now something that attendees want. So, yeah.
Yeah, so they're trying to accommodate those types of needs as well. So when we're looking at recruiting in meeting planners and groups into the market, we're paying attention to that as well. But we're going to be diving into this a lot deeper in the next 5 years or so with our strategic plan. Where are they staying? They're staying in our hotels, but they're staying across the board there. Our goal is to get those visiting friends and relatives to stop staying with their family and stay in our hotels. That would be lovely. And I'm sure some of those families would love for their relatives to go stay in hotels too. So we're trying to figure out how to have that, how to continue that messaging. But we are very efficient in converting visitors that come through our visitor center to getting them to convert to, if they were just planning to stay over, you know, just visit for the day or passing through, to actually stay overnight. So continue to work on that. But the average stay in the region is almost 5 days. And that's impressive. That's exciting. That's driving that TOT. 95% of the folks that were surveyed are very satisfied. Almost a perfect score. What I think is interesting, and it kind of goes against the common conversations that are happening right now around safety. Safety is pretty low on this list. So the visitor isn't really experiencing some of the things that maybe the residents experience in our community. They have largely a very positive experience when they come to see us here.
Yeah, I had a quick question. So, 9 out of 10 people are satisfied. Is there any, kind of trends among people who said they weren't satisfied? Or is it sort of just kind of all over the place in terms of what people were concerned about?
Well, it would be referenced in this chart. So some of them, yeah, so some of them feel like, public restrooms, that was a concern. Yes. Many communities are struggling with that, frankly. The road conditions, signage, they felt maybe the signage could be improved in the market for directing them around. So cleanliness is something that could be addressed as well. So these are some of the things that really did stand out in terms of things that our community could work on to improve the visitor experience. So we'll stay engaged and at the table in those conversations, both at the city level and as well as around the counties too, to see how we can make sure that our stakeholders' voice and perspective is at the table in those conversations and that those issues are being addressed. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
In our packet on page 18, it says that the average stay is 3.4 days. But
in the packet, I'm not able to look at the packet at the moment, but I will make note of that and we'll make sure to double check if there's an incorrect number on one of these pages. Thank you for pointing that out. Kara, you might look while I'm continuing to go through this.
I don't know if one is referencing the information we get from Travel Oregon, and this is our own visitor study. I don't know if that's what it is.
It's on the 22-23 State of the Industry Visitor Snapshot.
And
So maybe a year older.
That would be my guess. But it's the 23-24 information.
We don't have a page 18, sorry, I don't. I don't have a page 18, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know, there's some information that's incorrect, whether it's last year's info compared to this, I don't know, but it doesn't match up. Just
Okay.
curious.
So you're saying it's on page 18 in the
Well,
annual
I
report?
think it's 13 actually, it's the 22-23 State of the Industry Visitor Snapshot.
Oh, 22-23. Okay, I'd have to see it, I don't, sorry, I can't quite.
Yes.
But I'm guessing because you're saying 22. Oh no, this is 23-24. Sorry, I don't know which one you're talking about. We'll have to look into it, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'd just be great to have clarification, if. Cause
We-
if
we'll
it,
definitely- Yeah, we'll
if-
figure that
I
out.
mean, it's awesome if last year it was 3.4 and this year it's 4.5, that's great. The other numbers just look the same. So that's where it's the question of which numbers are correct.
Okay,
well-
well, we'll look into that, get an answer
you.
for you.
Okay, I think they're both correct, just because this is the 22-23 and this is the updated one.
Okay,
Yeah, so
but
she's,
like
we're
other
in a different part of,
information we were given was, hasn't changed, it looks like, but I don't see it. I swear in here. I guess it's just difficult because this, what we're presented with is different on the screen. So it's like,
well, because she hasn't gotten to this part of, this is part of the annual report. And then
Okay.
she's just going through the visitor profile study, which was just our on the ground
okay,
thing, so maybe that's just the little bit of confusion there. She just hasn't gotten to the actual.
okay.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of.
The pages aren't the same as what we're seeing. So I'm like, I can't follow along if it's,
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
right? Like, yeah.
Okay,
Are you looking at
I'm just fucked
page,
everything, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So
are you looking at page 18? I'm just gonna
no,
look at
it's
that.
actually, it's
real quick.
page 12,
the annual report.
it's
18 of 23, well,
number at the top. It's after all of your highlights.
This is
So
actually-
that's the 22-23 state of the industry, which is a different period of time. The study that I'm showing you now is our most recent visitor intercept survey that we just completed this fiscal year. So it is two different types of data. So what you're seeing then is an improvement in average stay. The average stay has increased year over year. So I hope that
great.
makes sense.
yeah, that's great to hear. The information that you're presenting us is, you're presenting it verbally and on screen as opposed to, it's not in our printed packet. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. I'm
Okay.
providing you
Right.
quite a bit more detail. I'm kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit of some of the stuff that's not in the annual report to this level of detail, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I love that you have a keen eye, for sure. We need you as a proofreader. That would be amazing. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out. But it is a good story to tell then essentially that there's been improvement in that average daily, the average stay of our visitors here, that they're staying longer, which is great. That's the goal. So trip planning while in the destination, what tools and resources are they using to move themselves around and make choices about what they want to see and do while they're here on the ground? You can see that they're using social media, they're using our website, our visitor guide, special promotions that we're doing, our advertising signage and so forth, our visitor information network, which is the VIN that you see there, our PR stories and things like that. And 95% of the folks that took the survey indicated that they had also signed up to receive our newsletter updates. So they're getting our consumer e-news that we send out once a quarter, and which tells them all the new things and exciting things to do in the destination to hopefully get them to come back again. But it was really great to hear that they are taking advantage of that resource as well. This chart here gets a lot of attention, and it's really, really valuable information in terms of what visitors are doing in the market and which attractions and which events are really drawing the largest numbers of visitors. So let me set the stage here for what you're looking at. The chart on the left down here is about events, and the chart on the right is around attractions. Salem attractions and Salem events are highlighted in green, and anything outside Salem city limits, so out in the region, is in blue. This data is, we have a subscription to a company called Placer. They geo-fence anything we want them to, and we can look at aggregate data that is based on cell phone use, going in and out of locations, and the technology, the AI is so smart that it can tell a visitor from a resident. We're able to look at, let's say, for instance, they go to the winery up here, Bethel Heights. We can see the three things that they did prior to going to Bethel Heights and the three things that they did after leaving Bethel Heights. So we can tell which hotels they're going to, if they're going to coffee shops before or after, whatever they're doing. We are looking at visitors from 50 miles or more away. So that increases the opportunity or the chance that they'll be staying overnight in the market. And the one qualifier is that these statistics, each location has to have more than 2,000 visitors to even rank. So if they're below 2,000, they're not even going to show up on the list. So this is highly geo-targeted, very refined data. We have cross-checked this and proofed this against other data that we have. It's very, very accurate. It's not 100%. There is an extrapolation in the metrics in terms of how they do calculate this, but we have found it to be very, very, very accurate. So let's dive into it just for a little deeper. On the event side, over here on the left, you can see that on the event side, the Salem events are really driving the visitation. You have, and let me orient you into terms of what data you're looking at here. We're looking at total.
Angie,
Yes.
Angie, it's Irene. I'm going to jump in for a second. The state fair should be green. The Marion County Fair should be green. So there's a couple of colors off here.
Okay.
So when you're going through it.
Oh, I do see that. Yeah. Oh, that's disappointing. Sorry, guys. This is hot off the press, and clearly there's a couple of errors in here. But thank you, Irene. Help me keep it straight here. So what we're looking at is total visits and the total number of visitors that are comprising these visits and the percentage of visitors. So what you're saying is that the visitors for, let's just say Ironman, 11,400 visits by visitors. So 6,300 visitors went to Ironman 11,400 times. So each visitor was going a couple times. Basically, what that equates to. But the percentage of visitors to overall attendees, so you'd have residents or locals there as well, but the percentage of visitors is 46%. So we are weighting these charts based on the percentage of visitors. Some of them have much smaller numbers, like let's say Hoopla here, where you had 3,500 visitors going 5,400 times to that event. But that only represented 14%. The visitors were only 14% of the total number of attendees that went to Hoopla. But we ranked it based on percentage of visitors.
Okay,
So
I'm going to jump in again. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's 5,400 visits, and of those visits, 3,500 were visitors.
Actually, I clarified that data. So that's what I thought it was too, but it's not. So we'll talk about that later. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. But so what you see here on the event side is that the Salem events are really driving visitation. Again, Irene thankfully called out that Oregon State Fair should be in green. and Marion County Fair should also be green. But the robust nature of these major events in our region are driving significant visitation. I mean, the Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival is a powerhouse. The majority of, well, not majority, but 1/3 of the attendees to that event are visitors. So highly likely to be staying in the market and driving higher economic impact. The St. Paul Rodeo, Oktoberfest, and so forth. So even though some of these have smaller total numbers of visits by visitors, there's still large portions of visitors attending. On the attraction side, which we have many of you folks in the room or as part of this TOT group, it shifts. It shifts to the attractions in the region being the major drivers, the majority drivers of visitation to the market. And what's really exciting about this is just the mix of options, the diversity of what there is to see and do in the region that's driving that visitor here. And so we can appeal to, with our mix of business, so to speak, a wide variety of visitors. You've got wineries, you've got theme parks, outdoor recreation, casinos, shopping, and then down, the CFC soccer complex has pretty high, almost 1/3 visitors coming there. Just a wide variety of options that are really driving the visitors to come to our communities. So when we are creating our content plans, and I'll show you a little bit of content here in a second, Kara's in charge of that, and it's a huge lift to try to have a solid and representative mix of content that is promoting to all the different sectors. We're focusing on cultural heritage, culinary, and recreation, and then over, a very large geographic area, the diversity of what we have. So we're trying to make sure that our content is diversified, that's well representative of the wonderful things to do here, that's fair, that we spread the love. And it's a challenge, but we have so much to talk about. We have so many wonderful things to see and do that it's a great challenge to have. Are there any questions about this chart or observations?
So I was wondering, you said that you can tell whether people come from the Salem area or from outside the area. I don't see that represented as a percentage breakdown here. So
What you're not
especially on the venue visits.
What you're not seeing here is you're not seeing the total number of attendees. That column is hidden.
So we're just looking at people from outside the area.
That is correct. And that's what these numbers represent, is just the visitors. We have all of that data of the total number of attendees to each of these, but we are focusing on the visitor.
And this is outside of the Salem area, or outside of Marion.
These are people that are coming from 50 miles or more away. Mm-hmm.
They have to have location services for their shop, and they have to have a smartphone. So, yeah.
I mean, and it's smart enough. I mean, they require the person to be on site at these locations for a certain period of time. They're looking at what the home location of the phone is, so they can tell if they're a California resident and they're here visiting. All of those things come into place. So that's why it's as accurate as it is.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Does it incorporate a visitor that might come more than once to the same event?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So if, for instance, at the soccer complex, if there's a tournament and a family comes all 3 days of the tournament, it's showing them as unique visitors, or it's totaling.
So for instance, yeah, the CFC soccer complex, of the total number of visits that were visitors, so there was more than 31,800 people that came to that complex over the year. Okay. But of those people, 31,800 were visits by visitors. But the number of visitors were 15,800. And so you can see that you kind of double that. So each visitor was kind of going maybe twice if that makes sense.
Got it.
But that number of visitors represented almost a third of total attendees to the complex over that year.
And that's of course not counting any kids that don't have cell phones.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially for like that soccer, right?
We have to remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about that is the child isn't the decision maker and or the bank account holder. So it's counting the right people that have the discretionary income and are making the decisions about how to move in the market. So it's a good number. Okay, are you ready to move on, or any more questions on this slide?
I have a quick question. Is there a way to extrapolate further based on attendance, like kind of estimating like, okay, well, here's the number of adults who have cell phones on average. This percentage of adults is going to have, X number of kids, and sort of estimate it from there. Like doing more kind of complicated math on it.
This platform, I don't think gives us that option. We would have to go back to some of that intercept data that we had back here in terms of the mix of folks that are coming, to kind of extrapolate from that to get to the answer that you're talking about there. But this data here doesn't provide that for us.
And I was curious about the cell phone aspect of things. How do they determine if it's is it by the area code of the cell phone, or how do they determine the home location of each cell phone number?
No, it's not based on the actual cell phone number. It's based on where the cell phone resides, the majority of the time. Like it's home base, so to speak. So for instance, your home base, it would be able to tell that you're a Salem person. That's where the majority of your time is spent. That's where your phone is based out of.
Even though my number is based out of somewhere else.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's way smarter than me. So if you want if you would like to dive deeper into sort of how the data is collected, we could certainly maybe get some of that information for you and share that like in a one sheet of some kind if you wanted that. I'm certainly not an expert in that. But what I can tell you is that we have cross-checked, picked a few of these out and spot checked them, and they're very accurate. Public relations, a very important aspect of what we do. This is what we call earned media. It's based on a staff person, essentially, or a physical person in our under contract. We have it, it's contracted out now. Kara had been doing it for the last 12 years. But this is about pitching stories and to editors and across the country, reporters, blogs, influencers, and all of that, and trying to get them interested in writing a story about our destination. And so it's highly challenging because we're not in control of whether the end person wants to publish that story, what they say about the destination, how they position it, when it runs, any of that. But this type of content, when you read an article in Sunset Magazine, there's more believability about it. The reader puts more credibility into the article because it's not like an ad. So media exposure is very, very valuable. And it does a heavy lift and different than what we can do in some of our advertising and social media. So this plays a very important part in the mix of business that we're doing in terms of how we market the destination. We had a 3.3% increase in impressions. How many people saw our stories year over year? So we've had about 123 million impressions, which is wonderful. And that content included about 101 articles and references. So we calculate the value of that, and if we had to purchase that space, there's a value to that. We're not having to purchase it. We're paying a talent to be able to go out and get us placed. Due to a variety of different reasons, we shifted this fiscal year. So all of the output that you see here, 123 million impressions, was generated by Kara. This fiscal year, we've shifted to contracting that work out. I'll be able to talk about that more the next time we meet.
How does that number of 101 articles and references compare to previous years?
That part fluctuates a lot. Some years we might, let's just hypothetically here, since I don't have all of those numbers right in front of me. Let's say in 22, 23, it took 200 articles to generate 119 million impressions. So that fluctuates a lot. But we have all that data. If you wanted to see that breakdown, we could provide that to you.
I'd be interested in knowing what people are most interested in. So what topics got the most traction in the media stories? What basically what people are looking at and what might be people.
Well, we can dive into that a little bit by looking at this slide here.
Set you right up.
So here's a couple of examples of the types of coverage that we're securing. So for instance, in VIA magazine, we were part of the story about building bridges, learning about past and present by visiting tribal lands. That article that was published in this magazine reached about 1 million people. And if we had to have purchased the space, it would have been valued at $28,000. In Forbes, we got the save the date for these spectacular 2024 Oregon Flower Festivals. We got an article placed on that. Reached 5.3 million, valued at $50,000. The Lonely Planet was about a first-timer's guide to the Willamette Valley, 6.3 million. So the specific, folks that were featured in these stories, we have all of that data. We could share that with you, of course. There's a couple things coming up that'll give you a little bit more texture, but I'm sure Kara's taking notes and we can figure out how to get you a little bit more context to some of this if you're interested. On the social media side, we produced and posted more than 50 videos, YouTube Shorts and TikTok and on Instagram and all of that. Video content is king. That really is what consumers are consuming. That is what they're looking for. That's how they test drive destinations, get inspiration for where they want to go. And so we have to be very, very active in that space. And we do a really, really great job. So here's just a sampling of some of the content that we created. We drove about more than 650,000 views of our content on our videos that we produced. So let me show you an example here. So that's an example of the type of content. So we're looking at, we do a lot of A/B testing. We look at what is got a sticky value. So what people are commenting on, engaging with the content, sharing out. We pay attention to that. And then we kind of hunt that type of content even further. But again, we're trying to balance a wide variety of content options in the region and spread that love.
I'm sorry if I can interrupt real quick. Just before you move on from that video, that particular video, do you have engagement numbers for just for reference? What kind of engagement you're getting on a video of that nature?
We have the exact numbers of the engagement on that video, and we can get that to you. We have that on every single post that we create. As you know, once you create content like that and it's posted and it's living out there on our YouTube channel and you're living on our social channels, it continues to gain visibility. So those numbers continue to grow year over year. But we can tell you time and place as of today, for instance, how that video performed and what the engagement level is. So absolutely, yeah, we can get you that. Here's a little bit.
Oh, so I had a question too. So based on the A/B testing, what trends are you noticing in terms of what content tends to be doing better? Or what people are more interested in?
Kara, if you're available to answer
Yeah.
that.
So for us in particular, I mean, the gardens do an amazing job. Like that wooden shoe tool, I mean, that's just constant. When people see these massive, flower gardens, that's not something you can find everywhere. Outdoor recreation, the hiking, the falls, those always do really well in social, no surprise. Yeah, I mean, I would say those are the top two. The food does great. I mean, as you know, on social, so showcasing the unique food that we have in our region, especially when it comes to sweets and desserts, no surprise.
Yeah.
Showcasing some of those unique ones. So those jump to the top of my head as some of the best performing content that we have seen on our channels. But the cultural heritage does really well too, like when we showcase Riverfront Carousel and that amazing, colorful, bright, carousel moving around, and people always, there's a ton of engagement and a ton of impressions on those kind of content.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we data is king with Travel Salem, so we can give you as many layers deep in data that you would ever possibly want to go. We have all of that. So this is really just to give you a blush of the types of things that we want to showcase, but certainly if you want to dive deeper with us, we're ready and willing to do that with you anytime.
I have a question. So the top performing social sites consist of people who are coming to this area demographically. Instagram and Facebook being boomers, Gen Zers. You guys were showing a TikTok video. How long have you been on TikTok?
About 2 years, 2.5 years. Yeah.
And have you found that different content does yeah.
Yeah, TikTok, I mean, it's gotta be video, right? It just has to be, and it's shorter. I mean, the consumption of those, it's gotta be really under, 30 seconds or so, or you start with people. The demographics just skew a lot younger for TikTok, yeah.
Have you experimented with doing a different type of marketing campaign on TikTok?
No, we just gotten up and running, we've actually been on it 2.5 years. We were actually pretty close after Travel Oregon to adopt it as a DMO. So, but we're constantly moving towards more and more and more video.
It's also a really great platform.
Yeah, for video. So we just get out video, and you just have to keep producing video to really get going on TikTok. Yeah, I'm just curious. The growth on there has not been, unfortunately, it hasn't grown immensely, like our following there.
You also don't know the algorithm.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It just doesn't, but I mean, we're there because we know we gotta be on some video platform. Now, if TikTok goes away, where do we all go? Maybe it goes back to Instagram Reels. I don't know. But video is really just the video is really what the algorithm is picking up on any channel, right?
What percentage of paid campaigns do you do versus organic?
Sorry, Angie, I'll take this. So it's very small. I mean, we do some paid, but it's on social. I would say as a percentage of our budget, it's probably only about 10%, I would say. Yeah. We do boosted posts, we experiment with carousel ads on social, but we can't do those all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So speaking of that, what you'll see at the bottom here of many of these slides are these little funding bugs. And the funding bugs show who's paying for what. We have like 7 or 8 different revenue streams at Travel Salem. Each of them has certain sideboards or restrictions on how they can be used and spent. So for instance, the TOT funding on this type of content, social media is paying for staff time to manage contractors or to do that work. STPA is paying for additional staff time, especially time that is spent on regional work that is not able to be funded by TOT. Also, they pay for the boosting of the content itself. The STPA does. So that helps explain sort of how we manage the funding to make all of this work within the guidelines and the restrictions that we have. This slide goes a little bit further into your question around engagement. So for instance, you can see on our Instagram channel last year, we had almost 800,000 impressions. We had almost 26,000 likes and 1,500 comments, for instance. On the Facebook, it's a totally different level. There's just a lot more people on that platform that are engaging with our content. So almost 6.5 million impressions, 81,000 likes, 5,500 comments. This example over here is the top performing post for last fiscal year. So we wanted to show that to you. Certainly we could get you the analytics on it in terms of the number of the engagements and the types of engagements on this post, but it had almost 90,000 views on Facebook itself, 50,000 views on Instagram. And again, this content lives in perpetuity, so that engagement will continue to grow over years.
Our goal really at Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm is for people and families to come out here and just experience the beauty. We've got a world map, a United States map that we put up every year, and usually it takes us 1 week to get all 50 states pinned. And you walk over to the map and you kind of watch people do it, and then you go have a conversation with it, and it is. They plan their, maybe they're meeting relatives out here or friends, but they come out and they go to our festival. Then we have a world map as well, and that we get between 130 and 140 countries pinned on that map every year. And the diversity of people out here is just like none other. It's a great crowd. We love it. To me, that's the best part. When people come to the Tulip Festival, they're happy. And they're happy to walk in the vast array field of flowers. It's just beautiful.
So that's another type of content that we generate. So you can see the sort of different approaches that we take on also the platform that we're promoting it on. On our website, which is the hub of all of our content, everything that we do drives back to our website, where it's very deep and very broad in terms of itineraries and how people can search for date-specific types of events or anything that they want to engage in. Our website really is incredibly powerful. Last year, we had almost 270,000 online user sessions. Last year, we translated our website into 5 different languages, and we're continuing to add language diversity on that site and accessibility options as well to make sure that we're staying as welcoming as possible with our content. Some other examples of content that we create are blogs. And our blogs are very, very effective. I wanted to show you an example of the types of content we're creating on our blogs. If you don't subscribe to our newsletters, or if you're not you don't receive our consumer e-news, you should sign up for those. You can just go on our website and easy to sign up for those. But that will give you a flavor of the types of content that we're also producing and what our visitors are seeing. This particular blog here was about 36 hours in Salem, so 3 days. And what you can do in 3 days. Well, I guess 36 hours isn't 3 days, kind of 3 days. But anyway, it's about coffee and world art and local history. And that's what we focused on. We hire content creators to write this for us. They come and visit the market. They do their research. And they produce really engaging content. So this blog featured all the things that you see listed here. Some diversity there in our cultural and heritage assets, combined with some of our culinary partners as well. And these photos down here, our blogs pull in user-generated content. So these are images that visitors and other folks have shot at these different locations. So we are leveraging other people's content to showcase the best of the best in our community here. one of the things that we do, well, it's coming up on a slide, so hold that thought. I'll point to it when I can actually get to that slide. It's coming right up here. A couple other quick things. Some of the partnerships that we've engaged in last year. We had a very exciting relationship with KPTV. We put up a weather cam on top of the Holman Hotel. So now Salem is on the news every morning and in the evening. A lot of visibility for our community, staying top of mind with folks that are watching TV on KPTV, the news program there. We also did a lot of stuff with them in terms of over-the-top television, advertising, placing ads, commercials on Netflix and Hulu and Sling and things like that, HGTV and so forth. So that was a really effective campaign. And we did an influencer collaboration with the Dinkum tribe. They're travel writers, influencers, and that was very effective as well. This is what I was wanting to refer to. So the content that I've been sharing with you the last few minutes are social media posts, our blogs, our consumer e-newsletter, our Google advertising that we do, our website, our KPTV ads. We pay for analytics essentially to track visitors' engagement with this content and how it leads to actually bookings in the market. So the technical term that I'm going to refer to here is a pixel. We basically put a pixel on our social media posts. We put a pixel on our blogs, a pixel on our ads, our Google ads, our online advertising, our newsletters. And it tracks, as soon as a consumer engages with that content, it tracks them all the way to booking in the market. So what you're seeing here, and this is the first time we've ever been able to do this. Last year, I think was the first time we were ever able to do this. We can track second year, 22, 23, and 23, 24. So we have a year-over-year comparison. The first year that we did it, we had about 2.4 million digital impressions, and you can see after consistency and tweaking that, those campaigns based on the analytics and the data that we're getting, we were able to be more effective and drive 11.5 million impressions. That exploded our website visits off of that, and it more than doubled our hotel room nights that were driven. So we can actually track the person who looked at that Facebook post or that social media post or our blog, and that they actually booked a hotel room in this market. So we drove over $500,000 in hotel revenue from these initiatives up here. It's the first time we've really been able to show the power of those types of marketing initiatives. Social media has been very nebulous in the past in terms of what kind of results is it really driving? Is it just kind of fluffy stuff? It's not. It's very strategic. It's a tool in our toolbox, and we continue to refine the way we use it to effectively drive visitation to this market. So, doing the A/B testing, looking at what content is resonating, what content is driving engagement, all of those things. We leverage that data and we fine-tune our program to deliver higher value. On the advertising side, we run ads in traditional publications. We do a lot of digital online advertising mostly. We partner with Travel Oregon. And this is an example of the types of ads that we run to promote the destination. These are some of the publications that we advertise in. Sorry, excuse me. Another advertising initiative that we do is on Expedia. We've spent quite a bit of money on Expedia. That is a platform that cannot be ignored. You have to play in the space. They are the big dog. And we are doing it kind of creatively. In the past, we've been able to do different types of campaigns with Expedia, so we might advertise directly on that channel. We have actually decided to partner with Travel Oregon, and it's more effective. This campaign that we're working with Travel Oregon on, and we've done it for, I think, 2 years now. It's a co-op, so we buy in with 2 other destinations. I think it's 2 other destinations. Irene can correct me, or Kara can correct me if I'm wrong. These coveted positions. And so what happens is when a consumer goes on to Expedia, and let's say they're searching for travel, and they start looking in Oregon, and they're kind of exploring, but they don't book anything, they leave. Travel Oregon retargets those consumers that have shown interest in the destination with this targeted newsletter content here. And they send the email to these consumers and say, hey, we saw you're interested, take a deeper look. We'd love to, come visit us, type of a thing. And so we have our content front and center. So you can see our heritage experiences here, and then we have Travel Salem featured down here. So it's the coast and Tualatin Valley and Travel Salem that are the ones that are being featured or partnering with Travel Oregon in this way. From this campaign, we spent about $100,000. We drove about 16 million impressions. We drove more than 17,500 room nights and drove $2.7 million in actual hotel revenue from this campaign. So highly effective. We're easily able to measure it, and we can control that content, and it's really producing great results. So love it. On our visitors guide side, we produce this every year. We do 120,000 guides that are used up, every single last one of them. Over the years, we've developed a proprietary distribution system of more than 800 locations throughout Oregon, California, Washington, British Columbia, and all over the world. People can call and order this visitor guide. They can go onto our website and access page turning software that allows them to kind of look through the visitor guide digitally as if they were turning the pages. And there's live links throughout that online and all of that. So this is a very effective tool. While most of the stuff that we do is typically online, digital marketing, the printed visitor guide is still very, very valuable, and consumers want it. They want a physical guide. They call and order it. They pick it up in all the different locations. So it's something that we're still committed to. We do participate in a visitor guide conversion study through the One West Tourism Alliance. And so the data is very strong still on visitor desire for a printed guide. On the sales and services side of what we do, which is the convention and group side of our business, where we're recruiting in large conventions. We do wedding events and reunions and motorcycle rallies, RV rallies, you name it. We provide a lot of services to those groups that come in. So last year we serviced 25 groups, which represented about 53,000 or 54,000 attendees that we were able to one-on-one and in person influence how they experienced our destination. So putting a lot of resources out to them, answering their questions, what they want to do, helping them navigate the destination. And then we also plan a lot of pre and post conference tours and activities. We put together customized itineraries. We help them with permitting if needed. Sometimes they want a welcome address by the mayor, things like that. So we do all of that work together. On the production side, what did we actually generate on the sales side? So last fiscal year, we generated $44 million in economic impact from the group business that we booked, representing about 33,000 room nights. In the same year, last year, we were working to book business for future years. So we had $118 million in economic impact in leads that we were working, representing more than 80,000 room nights. And of that, we booked about 98 million of that, and about 70,000 room nights. So robust efforts on the convention side and the sports side. And then one of the ways that we drive impact into the region is we recruited in Ironman, 3 years ago, right in the middle of COVID in 2020. And we just signed another 5-year agreement with them. So we've extended that relationship for another 5 years. On the weekends that they come in July, they drive more than $15 million in economic impact in just a couple of days. That's about 10,000 people on the ground here visiting and extending their stay to train in the market, to explore the market, to celebrate this really important event in their lives with their families. So about 9,200 room nights, driving more than $300,000 in TOT just in that one weekend. So wonderful experience. On the Wine Country Plate side, which is an initiative that we drove, we created this back in 2011. It was signed into into law by Governor Kitzhaber. We considered this a jobs bill, almost 70,000 plates on the road as of right now, and that's generating more than $2 million in revenue that's supporting tourism efforts across the state. Strategic initiatives, our cultural heritage intern program that we did last year was very successful. From everybody that we've talked to about it, we worked with the historic Deepwood, the Bush House, Salem Multicultural, and the Oregon State Capitol. We had 2 interns that we recruited from OSU, and they did all types of support for our partners, including website audits, web development, research, content calendars, storytelling, event planning, all of that. And from what we've heard, we want to continue this. We are currently in the process of hiring a new destination development manager, and once that person's on board, we'll be able to reinstitute this program. But it was very successful. We want to continue to fine tune it. We want your feedback and ideas to make it even better. We hope more folks will join in and participate in this, and we'll be able to recruit additional interns as well to support that work. We also engaged with the Resilient Headwaters. We provided some funding to them to develop some trails in a fire torn area up the canyon. And they were able last year to map about 100 new trails. And why is that important? It's important because folks who want to come to the destination to recreate usually will stay. They'll stay a few days to experience the bounty of that recreation. We have world-class hiking trails, cycling trails, horse trails, you name it here. And they're helping develop that new product and mapping it so folks can know if there's restrooms, is it ADA friendly? What's the elevation? How long is it? How difficult is the hike and so forth. So all that content is being created, and the folks that are doing this work are just amazing. So it's a great partnership. We did an economic development consortium. We launched that last year. It's bringing together economic development enthusiasts from around the county to talk about issues and collaborate on projects. It's been very effective. We've been working on broadband, some hotel development. We opened our brand new visitor center at our new headquarters last year, and we launched air service, and that was incredibly emotional, I think, for the community to be able to re-establish commercial air service after it being gone for more than a decade. It was exciting. And those flights continue to grow and be more successful. We've had about 500 flights so far. 55,000 customers have come in and out of the market, and half of them are visitors. So we are very excited about the potential, and Travel Salem is really focused on the inbound. We'll be clear on that. We've been doing in-destination marketing in Vegas and in Burbank to drive visitors to fly in and experience Oregon's wine country. So that's what we've been doing. We also successfully helped rename the airport to Salem Willamette Valley Regional. And so that also being able to capitalize on the name of that airport will have cachet as well. Willamette Valley is known across the world for its culinary prestige. So the Burbank flight with Avelo is the best launch to date out of their 35 markets. It's doing extremely well. And I have a little bit more here to share with you, just really quick, our first quarter report of this fiscal year, July, August, September. A couple of quick highlights for you. We did launched the visitor profile survey that I just shared with you. We did an Ironman retail promotion. We've been doing some work in partnership up on the west side of our region regarding Gooseneck area in Polk County, and some recreational development out there that's in its infancy, but we hope to be long-term partners for the work that's being done out there. We did our economic impact study on the Ironman event that we held. We launched another Expedia campaign in that first quarter. We're doing a bunch of work on the wine country plate side with our partners across the 3 counties. We're doing some TV advertising in Seattle and in Dallas, Texas. And we just launched a brand new website, tastefulWillamette which is the sort of collector place for all of that promotion where visitors can go to take advantage of what we're promoting there. We relaunched our Salem Area Sports Commission, and we're doing some strategic realignment there. Within the organization, we launched a reorganization in the first quarter and did a bunch of shifting. So Irene became our chief strategy officer. Kara was promoted our chief marketing officer. We hired a chief sports officer. And it's been a very busy first quarter. And we completed our strategic planning efforts to set the vision for the next 5 years. And I appreciate everybody in the room, anybody in the room that contributed to that and gave us feedback through all the different things that we were trying to gather feedback in the different ways that we tried to gather feedback. So thank you for your support in that. On the PR and social media side, these are some of the things that we were promoting during that first quarter. Kind of just a few hits and highlights to share with you. On the PR side, we got an article published in Northwest Travel and Life featuring the Oregon State Hospital's Museum of Mental Health, which was really cool. And lots of great stuff down here. I know you guys are probably tired. It's been a long day, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do want to just share a couple of the highlights of our strategic plan. I want to remind you of our mission as Travel Salem to inspire growth and drive economic prosperity by harnessing our unique value proposition. And we do that through partnership, we do that through innovation, and we really are dedicated to responsible development. And we include our visitors in this process, and we include our residents in this process because they're both vital to the success of our efforts. Our strategic plan is pretty simple. We wanted to keep it very clean and precise so everybody can consume it and really understand the direction of the organization. There's 2 areas that we're working in, external and internal. Both of these areas are focused on increasing visitor-related economic impact. That's what we're here to do. Whether it's a day traveler or an overnight traveler, that's what we're here to do. And on the external side, we're focusing in 2 different areas, on the destination marketing side and the destination management side. We are a destination marketing and management organization. You can see the objectives under marketing here and the way that we're going to measure success in those areas. Same for destination management. Couple of things here to just highlight. We're continuing to focus on the shoulder season, which again is November through March. That's when our community needs the most infusion of visitor impact. So we're focusing on that. Another new feature is our equity, diversity, inclusion experiences that I've talked about a few times during the presentation today. So that is embedded in our strategic plan. It's critical that we become proficient in that space so we can compete. And we can be a welcoming destination to all that want to come here. On the management side, we're looking at continuing our efforts to recruit commercial air service and trying to support our community in that way. And we're focused on livability of the destination and advocacy throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley and uniting our partners in the valley. So those are a couple of highlights on the destination management side. On the organizational optimization side, again, it's about really being as efficient, prudent, accountable, and transparent in absolutely everything that we do. We are trying to continue to stay nimble and dynamic in the types of resources that we secure to do what we do as effectively as we can. And we want to include all of our partners in the process. Throughout this conversation today, as you've asked questions or you want further information, we're here to make sure you get what you're looking for. And we want to be your partner throughout. So I've taken up way too much of your time this evening, but I'd be happy to answer any further questions. And I want to thank you for giving us time to talk with you. And we just want to thank you so much for everything that you do. I mean, you're volunteering your time to serve on this very important advisory board for the city. And we want to be your partners. So thank you for your engagement. And we also really want to thank all our cultural and heritage partners that make this destination so special. So Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No, I think we're good. We appreciate you being here and keeping us informed.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Thanks, Angie.
Okay, so moving on to the next item requiring action is public acknowledgement of potential conflicts of interest by cultural tourism promotional advisory board members.
So just to give you background, so because of the applications reviewing have dollar amounts associated with them, part of the requirement is to identify any potential conflicts. In other words, if you have a family member that works for one of these organizations, or you are a grant writer for one of these organizations, or any ties to any of these organizations that would be able to benefit financially from the successful recommendations of these applications. So with that, this is your opportunity to publicly announce those, and then staff will take those notes and then make sure that to avoid that conflict, we're going to make sure we don't have the ability to score any of those applications for which you have potential conflict.
With my volunteering at the Elsinore, I should excuse myself.
You should at least acknowledge that you're a volunteer. You're not being paid, so if you're being paid, then no, there's a conflict. If you're not, and just volunteer, then yeah, there's a potential there. There's no monetary tie.
I don't think you have a conflict if you're not being paid,
No, okay.
considering.
A bias, maybe.
Just, yeah, I was gonna say.
But
But-
favoritism.
Yeah.
No one on this board should have bias, so. I've got conflicts.
Yes, you do.
Gee,
But I only know of two so far, so.
Just two so far? Which two?
Elsinore
Elsewhere?
as a paid employee, and Holly Ford, I'm gonna rescind myself from their application because of they advertised in the past, well,
That's right.
recent. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll do more later that I'll announce.
As long as you announce it, and we get it recorded. Anyone else? Tony or James, nobody? Any organizations that you guys work for, or have family members that work for any of these organizations?
Nope, no conflicts.
All right, sounds good. With that, I have to do some research. The city's asking that board members complete a ethics training, and I'll have to get that out to you as we're starting this new cycle. But with that being said, we can go ahead and move on to the next item of business, which is reviewing the facility operator grants and capital improvement projects.
Okay, so Chris is going to pull up a PowerPoint that has each of the items of discussion. So these are the facility operator applications and the project grants. And so board members at the time can, discuss them, but please keep it limited to items that are discussed within the application itself. So this would be the time to provide comments, things in the application that are worth highlighting, anything that you think is relevant for the discussion.
All right. So the first up, and I realized that as I started updating this slide presentation, that I forgot to give you guys the event grants for these facility operators. So I did update the slides with the new events that are being requested for these operators. You'll have the opportunity to read through the applications and do your due diligence and scoring on that. But just realize that they'll be listed on here just for your information. So the first up is the Gilbert House Children's Museum. They're an annual facility operator, and they have this year put in another application, or they have put in applications for a capital improvement grant for providing shade sails for the outdoor discovery area. And that's the CIP application. And then they are also doing a project grant for promotional video as the promotion slash project slash. At this time, board members can talk about any aspects of those applications that I touched on. Sheriff, the chair and vice sheriff made the determination that any discussion will be held within the board members and training from asking for additional information or questions out.
The audience and the applicant.
No comments from anybody?
Straightforward.
Yeah, one thing I did want to point out is the AC Gilbert's in terms of their finances, their revenue, their expenses did exceed revenue, but that had to do with their cost shifting of just when stuff was paid for. So it did indicate a position of financial weakness. Comments for members online? Yeah.
No, I don't think I have any comments on it.
Okay, any comments about the project?
I'll be uploading the event applications to the SharePoint file tomorrow. So you'll have access to start looking into the events.
Just there, or?
And I will also provide you the Excel spreadsheet.
Just Gilbert else, nobody else.
Just facilities who are doing events, or is it all of it?
It'll be all.
Okay.
I'm gonna let the floodgate open and give that to you. And then I'll give you the electronic spreadsheet for putting your stores and this. Work at your pace.
Really good way to get away from family at the holidays. I'm sorry, I have to work on my volunteer job.
Yep, that's why you get paid big bucks.
Sorry.
All right, okay, move on.
The next applicant is the Deepwood Museum Gardens. They are another annual facility operator. And I've been finding the exact grants for many years now. They have also submitted a event grant for public open house days. Don't have a capital improvement grant, so it's just two applications.
Yeah.
Following applicant is the Elsinore Theater. We have an annual facility operator grant application. They have a capital improvement request for entrance tile repair and replacement for the theater. And they have an event grant, which is their fourth season of monthly movie fund.
Comments?
Never attended any of those movies in the summertime when the children come in to see them. That is really an amazing thing to see.
And they look to be quite busy this next week. And a few of the events that have taken place or are going to be taking place up there as well. Any questions?
Questions, comments, related to the project? Okay, comments online? Okay, seeing none, moving on, next slide.
Next up is the Hallersford Museum of Art. Their annual application for a facility operator grant. The only application right now.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess, are they applying to be one of like kind of the normal ones that we would fund? Is that what that is? I'm not sure. That seems pretty broad to me, so I'm not entirely sure what that means.
So they are a nonprofit organization that is a facility operator, and they have a museum there that they operate throughout the year, and they are requesting the TOT facility operator grant to help fund in some of their operations. So this is annual. They do this on a regular basis. We have, historically, we have 9 applicants every year, and they are one of those 9.
Okay.
I know I'm rescinded from this one, but was the I-990 not present? I know there's lots of information. Comparison to others.
It's kind of profit and loss statement.
Okay.
The total expenses revenue here, I'm gonna take a look at it.
But we're good. I'm
They are
checking.
part of the Black University.
And the 990 is from all out.
Discussion or questions?
Seeing no discussion, moving on to the next slide.
Next up is the Salem Art Association. They're applying for an annual facility operator grant. And also the annual Salem Art Fair and Festival. So their last Art Fair and Festival was September 12th through the 14th. Actually, that's the next one.
Any comments from board members?
With the art fair and their encore event, the income is not listed itemized, so I assume it's seen as fundraising revenue. Which actually not having the event grant to look at first, but I know there's separate standalone, but I'm curious about the revenue from art fair and how it impacts their operations, because I know they seem pretty tight.
So when you get the event application, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah. I might have.
Good, any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, moving on to the next slide.
Next up is the Salem Multicultural Institute.
I have a conflict with that one too.
Thank you. Board, Charlie has a conflict of interest, Salem Multicultural Institute. This is their annual facility operator grant, and they are once again submitting another event for the World Beat Festival. For the annual World Beat Festival.
So one thing that stood out to me is looking through the revenue side of things. They had a pretty good mix of earned revenue, fundraising, and kind of other sources. So for earned, it's about 44, fundraising 22, and kind of other sources of revenue like grants is 34. So they have a good, revenue mix.
Curious as to why they anticipate their both club keys being applicable. Why they were applicable, sorry.
Yeah, it's possible they opted to cut them, I'm not really sure. Any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, moving on to the next slide.
Next up is the Salem Riverfront Carousel. Again, they're applying for an annual facility operator grant and for their annual Santa at the Carousel event.
But their marketing budget is very low in comparison. 2%, which the average of most others is at least like 4, I think, and above, up to 10.
Part of the application for marketing was at 3%.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's 2, so they're below. That's a failing grade. you know, if you're in school.
Yeah. Yeah, the rest of the number of attendees, they have 140,000 attendees, and actually a pretty good ratio of like, cost per attendee, about $4 or so based on their expenses. So, some good numbers there.
I think it's an opportunity if they market more.
Yeah. Okay, additional comments? Board members, comments online? Okay, seeing none, moving on to next slide. Oh, does anybody?
You guys still there online?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see them up there.
Yeah. Next up is the Willamette Arts Center. They're applying for their annual facility operator grant and for the Raku at the Oregon State Fair for Artists Village. Pass.
They did a good job updating.
I have a question about their personnel costs. Are the art instructors, the teachers, are they contract workers or are they salaried? That's the question.
Which ones must written in the application?
Well, I see that they now have one full-time employee and 6 part-time employees. And since I was the director of that place for several years, I don't understand why they have so many employees.
Yeah, so just looking at their kind of ratio of just how much the personnel expenses make up the total budget is 1.72%.
Okay, so for this question, we do have someone sitting in the room.
But that's okay.
I know, so just hold tight. We're gonna be sending a question, Chris. Potentially, I don't know. Do we need an answer for this? Is this something that we're just gonna? I mean, I don't have a question on it.
How does that question relate to your scoring of the application?
Yeah, probably. Are you concerned about the number of employees they have?
I'm concerned about the expense they have. It seems a little high.
But that would be under the budget side of things.
I guess I don't, well, maybe I should shut up. But I just think that a full-time director, I don't understand why that's a 40-hour-a-week job.
Full-time director for a center.
I used to be the director there and I never worked more than 20 hours a week. There was not that much for me to do.
I would posit that part of expanding programming is expanding for each require at least one. You'd have more to do as you start expanding.
I'm sorry?
You'd have more to do as you start expanding programming and classes. So it may be hard. We can ask that.
I'm new here, but I'm just, is this beyond the scope of
Yes.
how we determine whether they're eligible for this grant or not? I mean, this sounds like an operations discussion for.
Well, go
Yeah.
ahead, Chris.
So yes, it would be kind of outside of the scope. The board is looking at, based on the questions from the application, how the answers that are written to those questions, how do they stack up? If there's issues related to costs and expenses, related to revenues, that's obviously a budgetary side of things. And there are questions related to the budget as to any scores for those questions and how that stacks up. That's where I would refer board members to refer back to the questions on the application and the scoring rubric, and how those points are assessed based on the concerns related to expenses versus revenues.
And while we're filling out that score, we have a clarifying question. Separate operation. Like if we're scoring this and we had a question where we needed to clarify something because we didn't understand something.
It's a clarification question about, the scoring process, not necessarily about material that's in the application itself, that's beyond the scope of what's written.
Because the restriction is that you're restricted to the information provided on the application. We're determined that we're going to be asking
That's
additional information from the applicants.
That's what I meant.
So yeah, that would be non-scope of the application.
Okay, any other additional comments related to the application? Seeing none, moving on to your next slide.
The last one, I believe, is the Wyman Heritage Center annual facility operator grant, and then they have 2 more applications for the capital improvement grant for HVAC replacement in the main warehouse. That grant for their annual Magic at the Mill.
You see that we just did an HVAC with them,
Correct.
so
I can tell you that they have 34 HVACs on
yes,
property.
yeah, so what did we pay for last time?
Last time, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe it was.
Actually, we have the report,
Yeah, it's in the past process.
Or.
so like,
Or the. So this is the warehouse section where the stores are at.
yeah, so we can consider it a different project.
Yeah, because we're a different building.
We've done HVAC units across multiple buildings there. The dye house being one, and then main mill itself, it's called the third floor
Yeah.
section. 2 others, but yeah, over the years, we've done a lot of HVACs. So yeah, that seems to be a very
Yeah.
intense place.
The joy of Yeah.
Yeah.
And the need for humidity, temperature control, for artifacts and everything else. Associated with that. They have they do have an existing contract with the chapter company that manages for consolidation purposes, manages, takes care of all of the restrictions.
Here, clarify. Okay, so the past project, they replaced the non-working heating, ventilation, air conditioning units in the Thomas K. Wood Mill and the warehouse building. So I believe that this application is for the main building to replace the HVAC system. Yeah, main building, the warehouse building.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Do we normally, the grants normally go for like 50% max of what the project actually costs, right?
So for the capital improvement grants, they are a 50% match of the actual cost of the project itself.
Up to 20,000.
And it's up to $20,000. So that means they have to have actually spent 40,000 to get the 50% match.
Okay, because I'm looking at the proposal on it, and the proposal's for 28,000, a little north of 28,000 for the work. I don't know if there's another. Oh, there is. Okay, never mind. There's two.
There are 2 HVAC units that are being replaced together as a single project.
Okay, never mind. I just saw the second page. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Never
So
mind.
total expenses, it's gonna be $58,591.
Okay,
To meet that full 20,000.
all right. That answers my question. All right, thank you.
Okay, any additional comments? Okay,
No.
seeing none. Is this our last one? Or do we
So
have-
that was the last facility operator grant. So we've covered all 9 of them, along with the 3 capital improvement projects associated there's attached organizations, and briefly went over what the event grants are going to be coming through for those.
Okay, any final comments from any of the members? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next item, which is the Call for Tourism Fund Report for November 2024. So,
ways down.
yeah.
Here we have for the new people. This is a month by month apples to apples comparison of the Cultural Tourism Fund itself, which is the fund that manages and receives the transient occupancy tax collections. You'll see there for last year, fiscal year 2023-24, and then you'll see the fiscal year 24-25, which is the current year. And so this gets updated and just kind of tracks where we're at year to date compared to last year, same time frame, and what the changes and differences are between those things. In general, we start with the beginning fund balance. We do have the beginning fund balance, which most of that, or sort of about 50% of that, is rolled over monies from savings or money that wasn't spent in prior years. And a portion of it is also one-time revenues that came in with the ARPA monies. We focus mainly on current year collections. Through November 30th, we received $2.1 million of TOT collections, compared to the same time frame last year of almost 1.5 million. So it's pretty big discrepancy. We've had in the month of November, we've had several. We had one organization, a hotel, that had some prepayments or makeup payments that boosted the revenues for that month. And you'll see that on the following. Take a look at that. So month deposits or things.
So that's not a question of any increase.
Yeah.
It's just people are not on the bill.
Yep. People will be coming bill. And there's also future time, short-term was also doing the same thing. There's been in the number.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Can I ask a quick question? Just what is the budget number based on, and why the discrepancy, the large discrepancy between the budgeted number and the actual?
Okay, so you're talking about the 5.2 million versus the
Right.
2.1. Okay, so the 5.2 million is what we anticipate receiving for the whole year. And the 2.1 million is what we've received July through November 30th.
Okay.
So it's building up and it'll increase as we go through the year.
Fiscal year. Got it.
Yep. So when we look at the difference, we're just looking at the actuals for the same time frame. So July through November 30th for both years as a comparison. Interest earnings has been, spectacular with interest rates being high. The money coming in is nice. When I do my budgeting and forecasting for this fund, I do not anticipate or calculate in or expect high interest earnings. That's just kind of a bonus. I'd rather not have my expenses be dependent upon higher earnings on my interest earnings. So I don't take that into consideration in the budgeting. So with that, you can see that the budget for this year was 9.5 million. 5 million in collections and 4 million in getting fund balance. And then the expenditure side of things, we're looking at spending 7.1 million. The conference center marketing has a contract with the city for receiving 10% of the collections, or $300,000 or up or 10%, whichever is greater. And with a budget of over $5 million anticipated, it'll be 10%. So that's why we have a budget in there of 524,000 for the conference center marketing. You can see year over year, but there's a slight difference there. It probably has to do with the timing of the payments we made to the conference center. Tourism, see this, they're on par with where they were last year, receiving TOT collections and payments. The city programs piece that's transferred to new in this year has the $1.5 million worth of ARPA money being paid out to cover the library and parks and recreation, the splash pads and stuff. So those payments are being transferred to the general fund to help cover those costs. That's why you see the increase from year over year difference. Administration is lower because there is a one-time payment, back payment in the 24 year that was made 181,000. So that's basically what that difference is. Otherwise, they'd be on par with each other. The major tourist attractions and cultural facilities, that portion is the grants that you're reviewing now and the reports that we received in the informational side of things. So you can see that those are on par, tracking well with where they should be for year over year. Any questions on the fund balance portion?
Saying none, going to move on to our next item, which is the facility operating grant reports for the first quarter. So all the reports should be included with the packet for us to view.
Correct. So at the front of the agenda, we list all the reports that have been submitted. Basically, since our last meeting in September, we've had a few reports being submitted here. We've got first quarter reports from all the facility operators received. 2 annual reports. The events that took place, the Kalia Valley Samhain New Year's Festival, the Wood Forest Festival, Valley Building Blocks Riverfront Family Festival, the Helping Hands Resources Cultopia, Oregon Quilt Show, Hoopla, Salem Seekers Classic Birds in the Park, and capital improvement projects that have been completed are the Little Gym restoration at AC Gilbert's, the HVAC replacements at the Lawn Heritage Center. So all those informational items are in the packet. Read how those events went and compare them to your application for the future. Right.
I highly recommend, especially for new board members who have not necessarily been familiar with the events that are happening, that you keep the recent reports handy just for comparison and to see success stories.
Just to clarify on the SMI, one, it was corrected for first quarter and the second report, but not on the first. Still says fourth quarter. So are these both first quarter?
Did I mark them?
Salem multicultural. One of them got corrected, one of them didn't. I just want to clarify that they're both first quarter, correct?
One should
No, one's the,
Well, one is
I think
fourth
one,
quarter.
the annual.
One's an annual and one's
Okay.
first quarter.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the event grant reports, which as you mentioned are there as well. Okay. Well, the capital improvement reports are also available. Any comments about the capital improvement reports? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item, which is the roundtable discussion and appearance of interested citizens. And this is the opportunity for those attending the meeting to address the board and share upcoming events. So let's start with our in-person people first. Okay. Discussion.
I could just share that I'm Lisa Joyce from Willamette Art Center, and I'd be happy to answer your questions offline. But I did want to say that we have been notified by the Oregon State Fair and Exposition Center that our lease will be up the latest the middle of 2027. So we're on the hunt for a new home. I'm telling everyone so that I have lots of eyes out there. Some goals I have for it is that it be an accessible facility, that people with wheelchairs or walkers don't have to pull open a heavy door, can go to the bathroom. We've had a really advantageous relationship with the fair, and I'm hopeful to find an equally wonderful landlord.
What size space are you looking for?
We're right now in a visioning process about what we want it to look like. The other thing I want it to be is a place that's actually designed for ceramics, because the way that we're built up with these choppy buildings, there's a lot of extra labor entailed in moving pottery from one place to another. And so I'm pretty excited about it. It's also sad, but the fair has been increasing the number of activities on the fairgrounds, and it has affected access to the WAC in a pretty significant way. The other thing we learned during that same meeting is that they are not going to have an artisan village in the future. So whatever we do there will be like the only interactive hands-on art activity at the fair, except for things like face painting and that sort of thing. So if we are able to keep going with the raku there, because it is a really a cherished tradition for many, many families who attend the fair. So I hope we'll be able to continue doing that. But those are some really big changes for us and require a lot of rethinking who we are and all that. So that's the news from the Willamette Art Center.
Alec Ford.
John, Alec Ford.
Yeah, we're open for another week and a half. Indie folk, an exhibition of 17 contemporary regional artists whose work is informed by craft traditions and folk art. Continues through December 21st. Nancy Floyd from The Love of Trees is a new exhibition that just opened. Nancy's a Bend, Oregon photographer and author who won a Guggenheim Fellowship in 2022 and has developed this project where she's really looking at Oregonians' sort of unique bond or relationship with forests and trees. And so she's been at this for the last couple of years. And we have a smaller exhibition upstairs in our study gallery and Print Study Center of Nancy's work. And it's very cool. You walk into the study gallery and she's got these gigantic photographs of some of the scientists working at the Andrews Experimental Forest in Central Oregon. And then and actually as you walk through, we've got a soundtrack going, so you can hear the scientists kind of talking back and forth. And it's also Nancy kind of walking through the woods, so it's sort of a totally immersive kind of experience. And then in the Print Study Center, we have a lot of photographs that she took. She's been working primarily with the Xena Forest, and so it's going to be a wonderful project. This is first 2 years of what she anticipates to be probably a 10-year project. But she will be in town in February to give a gallery talk on February 11th. And she's going to be engaged in conversation with Julia Dolan, who's the curator of photography at the Portland Art Museum, about this new body of work. After the first of the year, we're opening, near the end of January, we're opening a major exhibition for a Native American artist, a Cherokee artist who lives and works in Portland, Brenda Mallory. And it'll be essentially a mid-career retrospective of her work. I'm doing a lecture with Brenda on January 25th, and then a gallery talk with Brenda on January 28th. That exhibition was originally organized by the Current Museum in Phoenix. We brought it up here and supplemented it with a number of other objects. So it'll be a pretty rich overview of her work over the past 25 years. As many of you know, when Willamette merged with the Pacific Northwest College of Art, we inherited the Museum of Contemporary Craft collection, which is a major, arguably one of the finest craft collections on the West Coast, perhaps one of the finest collections. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's one of the finest collections of American ceramics in the United States. And we've been in the process of really trying to be good stewards of that collection. The collection had been stored at the X Gallery in Portland. PNCA really didn't know what to do with it. So we've taken over management of that collection. We've gone through, we've inventoried it because nobody seemed to know exactly how many objects were in the collection. Were there 1,000? Were there 1,500? Well, I can actually tell you there are 1,254 objects in the collection. What we went through, we inventoried it. We found everything. We examined it, began cataloging it. We've now, in the meantime, we received a grant from the late Mary Beth Collins to renovate what we're calling the Mahoney Annex. And that building now houses the Museum of Contemporary Craft Collection. So in the process, we've got one final shipment to bring it down, and then it'll all be here. Then our challenge is going to be what do we do with it? Do we just leave, we're not going to just leave it in storage, but we're looking at different ways of, integrating the collection into our permanent galleries. At the end of 2025, we'll be having a presence at Portland Airport. We'll have a couple of display cases where we're going to showcase initially showcase the Museum of Contemporary Craft Collection. So that'll be exposing the Halley Fort Museum of Art to potentially 19 million travelers per year. Now, I don't know if we can include that in our attendance numbers or not. But they'll at least be aware of the Halley Fort Museum of Art and this collection. So that's pretty exciting. And then just a final note, my David Roberts exhibition that I organized a couple of years ago is actually going to begin its national tour. We're beginning to get bookings. We're traveling that exhibition through the International Art and Artists in Washington, D.C., which is a traveling exhibition service. And it's going to open at the Spencer Museum of Art at the University of Kansas. In 2025, it's going to go to the Mobile Museum of Art. And we think the Dallas Museum of Art in Texas. So we're looking, they're looking for about 9 venues nationally for that exhibit to travel to. So that's pretty exciting. That's about it for us.
All right, thank you. Anybody online? Okay, seeing none. Okay, so final items is other business parklet items for future discussions. Seeing none. Any last minute comments or questions from anybody on board?
Just that these, the SM, I think they're identical.
What's that?
They're identical too. So my sheets in here are identical other across the board. The numbers are different. So I think maybe it's just the same. Thank you. Yeah, I think something got uploaded wrong.
Yeah, so I want to thank James and Tony for being here for their first Culture and Tourism Board meeting. Appreciate you being here, listening in, and want to say the meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Kelly and Chris. Getting that for
Everybody go home and have dinner, right?
Yeah. Probably get to go home.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, next.
Good night.
Good night.